All right, guys, we're back for another great, outstanding, spectacular Oversteer TV podcast. So I'm here with my partner in crime, Jeff Brown. I'm Tony Castanera, as you know, the big fat obnoxious guy. So nothing interesting happened in NASCAR last weekend, did it?
Nah, it was a pretty boring week. Unless you're talking about Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who
Okay.
was just fined $75,000,
Yeah.
but
All right.
not suspended.
Let me have your take on what happened. You tell me what you think, how you feel, what happened out there.
It was pretty obvious. Stenhouse passed Kyle Busch on the first or second lap,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of moved uh, Kyle Busch up out of the groove
Mm-hmm.
and into the wall, but there was no contact there. I think Ricky left him plenty of room, so there was I don't see where Ricky did anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He passed Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch didn't like that. I think he felt like he pushed him into the wall, but that's not really what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So then there was retaliation. Kyle Busch went and purposely wrecked Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I mean, hooked him
Mm-hmm.
into the wall,
Mm-hmm.
head on into the wall. That's a classic. Hit him in the right rear panel and turn him straight up into the wall. It's been done many times,
Mm-hmm.
and it was obvious that it was on purpose. So Ricky Stenhouse there at North Wilkesboro, there's no tunnel or no overpass to get in and out of the pits or out of the middle of the track.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to sit there and wait 198 laps. And he went and told Kyle Busch's crew chief that he wanted to see him after the race. And after the race, he was waiting for him at the hauler. And they had a discussion. The discussion led to Ricky Stenhouse punching Kyle Busch in the face, which was entirely enjoyable to watch. And then some other guys, Ricky Stenhouse is a senior, jumped into the middle of it, so he's been suspended indefinitely. There's been some crew members on Stenhouse's crew that have been suspended,
Mm-hmm.
but Ricky Stenhouse has not been suspended. He was fined $75,000. And where I feel is lacking is there should be some sort of penalty or something against Kyle Busch for purposely wrecking Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I mean, it was blatant. There was no, I accidentally hit him and he went into the wall. It was entirely on purpose. So that kind of sums it up. Uh, I guess they didn't want to suspend Stenhouse because of the point situation. He doesn't want to cost him points.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, it's the best thing that's happened in NASCAR in the last 10 years. I
On
mean,
that
this is
point,
all anybody's talking about. We're coming up on the biggest race weekend of the year,
mm-hmm.
and all anybody's talking about the fights. We went to the fights and a race broke out.
On that point, I agree with you. All the rest of the stuff, no, I saw something totally different.
So, what's your take on it? Did you see it? Did you watch it?
I watched a replay. I didn't watch it live. I
Yeah, I'm
watched a
sure you
replay. I saw the accident. I saw everything. What I saw, well, first off, all I saw was Ricky Stenhouse kind of pushing Kyle Busch up. Now, I'm old enough to know that there's certain drivers you don't push around out there in the track, and one of them is Kyle Busch. It's
They
kind of like,
never made contact. It was a clean pass.
yeah, it's kind of like Dale Earnhardt. How dare you try to pass him? You just don't. Okay. Okay. So Kyle Busch did what Kyle Busch was going to do. It surprised nobody, and the last person should have surprised was Ricky Stenhouse. All right, he put him into the wall, and now I see. Now I've come to the conclusion that Ricky Stenhouse has no friends. Nobody likes him on his team because after that accident, it was on lap 2. He had a couple hours to sit there. Nobody in the team, none of the team management, Doherty, nobody said, pulled him aside and go, dude, chill. It's racing. It's racing. It's part of NASCAR. Chill. No, they just let him stew, let him threaten, let him go out there. Then he's sitting there having an argument with Kyle Busch, and he looks at Kyle Busch and he realizes that if he gets into a fair fight, Kyle Busch is going to rip his head off. And so he tries to sucker.
He's about a foot taller.
Yeah. So he just hauls off and sucker punches him. Right. Then Stenhouse's dad had to show up and save his kid's ass. And I love I'm going to put it up. There's a picture of Stenhouse's dad getting a right haymaker from Kyle Busch. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I completely enjoyed it. There's like several different camera angles of the whole thing. I watched them repeatedly.
Yeah, and then NASCAR.
Of it.
The best part is NASCAR today, like you were talking to suspensions. First off, $75,000 only for Stenhouse. That's a slap on the wrist. That's a joke. Where he's making.
Well, I mean, he's not a top tier driver, and he doesn't make that much money, so it might be a little more to him than say somebody like Kyle Busch, who makes a tremendous amount of money. Okay. You know, Ricky's in a team. He's on a shoestring budget team. You know, a one-car team. So. Yeah.
But Ricky Stenhouse still arrives to races in a private jet. The guys who are suspended, who are losing money, are the mechanics and other crews who make maybe 1/10 of the money that Ricky Stenhouse makes. Okay, right. Which is not really cool. And what gets me is the hypocrisy of NASCAR today. Like we're tough. We can't have this people fighting. Sunday during the race, after the race, on Twitter and Instagram, NASCAR was that's all they were doing is pushing the fight into everybody's faces. Hey, look at this, look at this, look at this. They gave every angle of that fight, and they loved it. They were marketing it. And today, all of a sudden, oh no, bad boy.
Well, I kind of agree with everything they did, except for not penalizing Kyle Busch. They could have at least gave him a slap on the wrist fine. I don't know. Reconciliation. I mean, it was a blatantly on purpose. Yeah. You can't do that, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. Why penalize Kyle Busch for being Kyle Busch?
Well, yeah. I mean, he would get fined every week, I guess.
Yeah. It's going to drive up the numbers. We all, like you said, it was the best thing to happen to NASCAR in a long time. It's going to drive up the numbers for the the Coca-Cola 600 this weekend. Should be interesting. Of course, during the race, all the announcers are saying, "Oh, there's Stenhouse next to Kyle Busch, or Kyle Busch next to Stenhouse." They'll be pumping.
They're going to have dedicated cameras just following both of those cars, and then if they actually come together on the track where they're next to each other or something, the guys will they'll start orgasming right on the air. I mean, it'll be the greatest thing they've ever seen.
Yeah, it'll be great for their sponsors, especially Doherty Racing, because like you said, they're a small team. So it's going to be a shame because people are going to be dwelling more on that than they will being the race, at least in the beginning of the race this weekend, this Sunday night. But just
it's the Kyle Larson story, really, is what it should be.
Yeah, that's going to be the other thing. Everybody waiting for Kyle Larson, which brings us the other story. We got the Indy 500 this weekend. Of course, Kyle Larson did very well in qualifying. He's going to be running there. And I remember we were talking about last time what happens if the race goes long or whatever. I heard right now that if the race goes off, the Indy 500 goes off as scheduled, and he wins, the plan is for him to do one victory lap, stop in, I think it's turn 2. There'll be a car to take him out of the speedway to a helicopter to get him to the airport to get to the race.
And they've agreed to this.
Apparently so.
I mean, no milk, no victory lane, no nothing.
Yep. Looks like, because they want IndyCar wants NASCAR fans to watch. That NASCAR hasn't said anything because technically for the points and for you to go into the playoffs, you have to start every race for your points to count.
No, you don't have to start every race, but you have to start the race in order to receive the points for that race. In other words, he could not have a backup driver start the race and then him come in late and then jump in the car. The points would go to points go to whoever starts the corner. Yeah.
Supposedly NASCAR is going to be making some other compensation for him. Well, everybody's bending over backwards for Kyle Larson, which is great. It's bringing eyes to both races. You know, some IndyCar fans will watch the CoCa-Cola 600. A lot of NASCAR fans are going to be watching the Indianapolis 500. The worst thing Indy wants is Kyle Larson dropping out in the first few laps.
The sound of channel changing going on all at the same time.
Everybody go, well, that's over.
I enjoy the Indy 500. I really enjoy the Indy 500 every year.
Yeah, it's one of the more interesting races. It's because it's so big, it's so important. It is the biggest race in the United States, bar none. And
the world, really.
Pardon me?
The biggest race in the world.
No, not in the world.
We have drivers that come. I mean, drivers come from all over the world. I mean, Fernando Alonso.
But if it's not the biggest race in the world because more people are going to be watching the Monaco Grand Prix that day than they will be watching IndyCar by a factor of 10. Same with the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But anyway, it's the biggest race in the U.S., biggest race in North America, and you got teams there that don't even race the rest of the season. They just show up, and drivers, you know, Takuma Sato, Elio Castroneves, who just show up for that. Ryan Hunter, all former champions, Indy 500 champions. Elio's won it 4 times. They all show up for that one race. They dust off the cobwebs. They plan everything, and the strategy with the pit strategy, the tire strategy is incredible. And it's like, it's funny to say that you're just biding your time and keeping your nose clean to the last 100 miles when they're doing 220 mile per hour laps.
Yeah. We're just taking it easy out here. We're slowing down to 220.
Yeah. And of course, the other story of the qualifying at Indianapolis was Penske locking out the front row with McLaughlin, Power, and Newgarden, which of course doesn't sit well with a lot of people after all the cheating scandal going on with Penske.
He owns the track. He owns the series. He owns everything.
And during qualifying, the 2 days of qualifying, the Chevy powered cars were all having a lot of problems with their plenum. Part of their intakes were causing problems. A lot of teams had to change their engines and stuff like that, but Penske didn't seem to have any problems whatsoever, and they run Chevys. But it's going to be an interesting race. Right, you know, of course the favorites are one of the Penske guys. What are you looking forward to at this race?
Well, of course, I'm looking forward to the Kyle Larson, story. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because we started this podcast last week. We said this is going to be a preview of the Indianapolis 500. It's the biggest race weekend of the year. And then all of a sudden, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. decided he's going to change our podcast.
Right.
So now the Indianapolis 500 is a secondary story to us.
Right.
But I feel like Kyle Larson has a real shot. I didn't think so at first, but after seeing the way he was running, the way he qualified, and his just overall maturity, the way he's handled the whole situation, it doesn't seem too big for him. It's not too much, Mm-hmm. I think he's got a real shot.
He's definitely got the talent. Because of his commitment to NASCAR, he's missed out on a lot of practice time. And it's one thing going around fast by yourself during qualifying. He hasn't been around that much because IndyCar, they like to do in the Indianapolis 500 during the open practice. A lot of teams like to group up together and practice racing in a pack and passing each other and everything. And that's a whole different ball game, as you know.
Well, there's the arrow.
Yeah. And
you get the arrow push that puts you right into the wall if you're not careful.
That's my thing is I don't know if he's had enough time to learn the intricacies of the pack racing. He's not an idiot. I expect him to hang back in the beginning, you know, and learn and get a feel for the race and see what's going on. I don't expect him to be mixing it up near the front right away. That would be that wouldn't be wise.
Well, I think the other way around. I think it would be better for him to stay in clean air up front. It would give him the best chance of not getting in trouble. You get back in that pack, like you said, with those people that only run one race a year, and you're asking for trouble back there. So he's already starting up front, second row.
Right.
So I feel like his best shot is to find, slot in the top 5 there somewhere and get some clean air and just try to hang up there. I wouldn't. He's not the type of driver that's going to drop back.
Well, it remains to be seen how he does. All I know is near the end of the race, if he's up near the front and he's dealing with some of those veterans who know how to run and know how to win the 500, like an Elio or Takuma Sato, or people like anybody in the Penske's, they're gonna teach him a few lessons, because yes, he's fast, yes, he's a great driver, but it'll be fun to watch.
Now the other question is the weather situation. That's what could throw a monkey wrench into Kyle Larson's plans.
Yeah,
I think there's a 70% chance of rain at race time at Indianapolis, which could push the race back. Which he may not even start the race, and I think there's a contingency plan to put Tony Kanaan in the car if that happens.
I believe that's
just absolutely cannot start the car.
Yeah, it looks like it's probably going to rain now. Kyle Larson probably really wants it, if it does rain, that it rains out completely. That is a lot of rain, so he can come back Monday. Yeah, come back Monday and run it. If the rain's delayed, that's it. He's,
there's no way.
No way. He's gonna. Hey, it was nice, guys. See you next year. And I
think the rules is there's no replacement drivers. In other words, if you start the car and you get out of the car, then the car is done. You can't put a replacement driver in there to finish the race. Like if he had to halfway through get down and go to Charlotte, but
I'd have to check that out. I know at Indy, you're not qualifying the driver so much, you're qualifying the car. That's why if Kyle Larson can't race, you can throw Tony Kanaan in there, who's an experienced driver, and they go, no problem, he can start that car.
Right. But if once he starts that car and he gets out of the car, then the car's done. You can't put another driver in.
I'd have to. I don't know. I'd have to check. I know he used to be able to switch to. There have been times they've switched drivers at the race, but that was a long time ago. I'm sure they probably changed the rule by now.
I think I just read that somewhere. I was actually doing a little research before the podcast here, which is not par for the course.
What's that word you said? Research. Yeah. What's that word you said?
Well, I was trying to be prepared.
Prepared.
I know. I go into the cold all the time. No research, no nothing. In fact, sometimes I don't even watch the race.
That's what Twitter's for. Hey, who won? There you go. Okay.
I just make sure my hair is good. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
And of course, the biggest news out of IndyCar this week was 26 of the 33 drivers starting the race chose whole milk for their milk if they win the Indianapolis 500. 26 of the 33. Man, they would have hated me, because if I was one of those drivers, I would have said, pardon me?
I would choose whole milk all the way, even though I am lactose intolerant and it would probably give me diarrhea for a week. I would go whole milk. You win the Indianapolis 500, I'm drinking all the milk they got.
I would say something like soy, just to piss people off. What people don't realize, they got to understand, whenever they always talk about the tradition of drinking milk. Drinking the milk, while it might be a tradition, is a paid tradition. You get $10,000 for drinking that milk from the Indiana Dairy Association. They've been doing it for years. So.
Well, you remember the year that Emerson Fittipaldi won the race? He refused the milk and because he has stock in orange juice groves in Brazil.
Yeah,
and he drank orange juice.
Well, he did drink the orange. He drank the orange juice, and then people got all mad. But then right afterwards, people said, "Hey, you got to drink the milk. It's $10,000." They go, oh, "Okay," and he drank the milk also.
But I remember him in Victory Lane pushing the milk away.
Yeah,
he's like,
orange
milk
juice first,
and he's drinking orange juice.
Yeah, there was more money in the orange juice. More money in the orange juice.
We'll just put some vodka in that orange juice and have a screwdriver. Like the first winner of the Indianapolis 500, what was his name? Rose? Drank 2 bottles of champagne during the race.
Mm-hmm.
During the race. Drank 2 bottles of champagne, and when he got out in Victory Lane, he said, "If it wasn't for the fine wine, I never would have made it."
Probably not. Well, it took him like 9 hours. It was a different time back then.
Well, they were doing 90 miles an hour or something,
Tops,
on bricks.
Oh.
Could you imagine those little skinny tires, 90 miles an hour on bricks for 9 hours? I would need 2 bottles of champagne also.
With those skinny tires?
Yeah.
Getting stuck in the ruts and everything.
That was back when the racing was real, when the drivers were fat and the tires were skinny.
Yeah. I live in the wrong time, man. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. And of course, we have to start it all off. We have the Monaco Grand Prix, which I love. I love watching that race.
Yeah, that's when you mix the champagne with the orange juice.
Yeah.
And you have the mimosas.
Oh man, it's it's going to be. That's going to be. I believe the Monaco Grand Prix is going to be an interesting race, because if there's one weakness the Red Bulls have had this year, it's been on the slow corners, and Monaco is basically slow corner after slow corner after slow corner. That's going to be a fun race too.
It all comes down to qualifying, really, because
it's tough to pass.
If you qualify on the pole, your chances are good, because it's very hard to pass in Monaco.
And it's should be interesting. It's going to be a great weekend. Let's do it. Who's your pick for the Formula One race?
Ooh, well, you can't go against Verstappen, but like you said, if he can't get on the pole, for me, it's whoever can get on the pole is got the best chance to win it. So maybe Lando wins his second race. In the most prestigious Formula One race there is the Monaco Grand Prix. As I like to say, Monte Carlo.
So who's your pick? You got to give me one. I'm writing this down.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Lando.
All right.
Norris, Chuck's little grandson, Chuck Norris.
I'm going with Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari.
Okay.
I think he's going to step up again and do it this week.
You think Sainz is the number 1 driver at Ferrari now instead of Leclerc?
He should be, but no, it's Leclerc. Remember, Sainz, they're kicking him out to replace him with Lewis Hamilton next year.
Right.
Sainz is looking for a job next year, and that's the biggest mistake Ferrari's made in a long time. Coca-Cola 600, who's your pick?
Well, it's not going to be Kyle Larson, because I don't think he's going to be able to do it. So my pick for the 600, man, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say Denny Hamlin.
You think so? Hamlin?
Yeah, I think he's got the best car and the most experience. He's been there before as far as winning the big races and things. I think Denny Hamlin. How about you?
I'm going with Joey Logano.
Okay, that's a good pick.
He's been up there. He's been battling it up, and he's been improving over the year.
And he did dominate the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. I mean, that was total domination. He almost led every lap. Yeah. I mean, he stunk up the show big time.
And of course, Indy 500. Who's your pick?
Marco Andretti.
No, seriously. Next thing you're gonna tell me Connor Daly.
I'm
Come
gonna go
on, come
with
on.
Kyle Larson. I think he can do it. I think Kyle Larson can do it.
Okay, I'm gonna let you. So I was gonna put down Marco Andretti, but no, I'm gonna Carl Larson.
I stole your pick. I'm hedging my bets here because if Marco wins it, man, there's going to be a celebration. That'll be fun.
I'm gonna go with Joseph Newgarden.
Okay.
Because that'll really tick people off. But I would love to see to really piss people off, Santino Ferrucci to win that race.
Oh yeah.
The driver, everybody in IndyCar, everybody loves to hate for some reason because
AJ Foyt.
He's got a chance.
For him just for AJ Foyt.
That's why they're saying that Penske's done so much better at Indy this year with qualifying because they've teamed up with Foyt.
Oh,
they made something there, and I'm like, really, Foyt?
Really? I don't think Penske needs to team up with anybody. I think maybe they need to team up with Penske, but Penske's all right on his own. I remember, the Penske organization has always been first class, top rate. I mean, they are the class of everything. Any racing series is Penske. I remember years ago when like the first IndyCar race in Homestead, you and I are standing in the paddock there before any of the haulers pulled in. The Penske hauler pulls in first. And to me, it looked like the guy driving the hauler stopped a half mile outside of the track and polished that entire truck. I mean, he pulled in there. It was shining. It looked like it had not seen the road. And he pulled in there and parked that truck and got out and started polishing the wheels. And I'm like, man, that's a clean. I mean, just everything about the Penske organization is first class. It always has been and probably always will be. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of effort and just the detail. The amount of detail that goes into that Penske does, you just marvel at it. Other teams don't even come close.
There are two teams that are head and shoulders above everybody else in IndyCar. It's Penske and Ganassi. And Ganassi's Ganassi's a little low key. They're not as flashy as Penske, but they win just as much as Penske, at least the last 10 years. Look at Scott Dixon's success. But yeah, that's professionalism all the way. They get the best mechanics, the best crew chiefs.
Well, what about the Andretti teams? Do you think he spread himself too thin going to all these other series, or?
No, I don't think so. They're in such series where it's just a whole other lifestyle, a whole other type of mechanic. They're not taking anybody from IndyCar and putting them on the other teams because the IndyCar people stay in IndyCar, and then it's like something else. They built a brand new shop now out in England for their Formula One team, which they're going to get, by the way. That's another subject for another day. They just signed Pat Simmons, the technical director for F1, just resigned because he just signed to work for Andretti.
Well, it's a done deal.
It's a done deal. It's going to happen. If the guy worked for the FI, he worked for Formula One. He's like, okay, he's not going to quit thinking, oh, there's a chance. No, because he knows it's going to happen. I don't think it's that much. You see, McLaren's in a lot of series also, and they're in Formula One. They're in IndyCar. They're in a lot of off-road racing. They're in Formula E also. That's the way it is. You spread yourself around now. If you got the sponsorship dollars, you got to spend it. You got to use it somewhere. And there are other ways to make money. So. And
McLaren right now is the top two team in Formula One, in my opinion. They've surpassed Ferrari and of course Mercedes.
Yeah,
I think right now McLaren and what they're doing is just incredible, and I think they have a good shot of winning this weekend at Monte Carlo.
Well, you did pick Lando, so
I did. That's why I picked him, because I think that the McLaren team has come into its own.
Took him a few years, but Zach Brown's got him back on the top there. So
I'm a real Zach Brown fan, not just because his name is Brown and we're related, but
gotta let him know that.
But I'm a huge Zach Brown fan. I think what he's done in the sport is incredible, and he's always remained very cordial to the fans, to the press, to everyone. I just think he's a great guy, and I wish him all the success.
Yeah, I've met him a couple of times back in the day, and he is a nice guy. He's very down to earth.
Yeah.
We're done, guys. We're running out of time here, so I want to thank you again. Follow us on YouTube. Click like. Come on, people. Click like. Subscribe. Or if you don't do this, we're going to keep on doing this until you do it. All right. We're also on Spotify. Got some more plans. We're working on some stuff. I'm Tony Castanera. This is Jeff Brown. Say hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Say goodbye, Jeff.
Goodbye, Jeff.
We're old. You guys take it easy. See you next week.